Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Lou Groves Sports Center, and we're going to get things rolling here. Apparently, we were here until about 2-ish this morning, dealing with some technical issues, and apparently one of them, which I just discovered, is that I can't use this mic, and I'm going to have to use my outside voice. So here we go. So maybe like scoot in a tad, and we're gonna get things going here right now.
First of all, welcome and thank you all for attending the 30th West Point Open, the anniversary. 30 years in the making. We started the West Point Open in '92, and many of you here have been helping put this thing on and have been here year after year, and we can't thank you enough. Today, we are, in addition, unveiling the M.G. Neal and Joan Creighton Gymnastics Center, and then the new Lieutenant Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction. Today we will be recognizing several key players that have moved our program to a higher ground. Under the leadership of Mike Buddy and his team and the overall support at West Point, we're in a position now to provide opportunities to produce a winning team and an experience unmatched by anyone for the cadets. And so I wanted to just tell you that last night we had our preliminary round down at the Hollader Center, and the cadets did awesome. They did a fantastic job. Tonight is the finals, and we hope that you'll all be there. We have several of our cadet athletes in the finals almost on every event, so they did incredibly well. The top 8 individuals from last night will be competing tonight. But before we get going with our presentation, I'd like to turn it over here to our athletic director, Mike Buddy, for a few words and a welcome. Mike?
So, as Doug said, welcome to those of you who are able to join us in person. For those of you who are on the internet, thank you for taking the time to log in this morning. To the Pontuck family, I think your brother and uncle would be proud of the Wall of Distinction that we physically now have, thanks to so many people in this room and beyond these walls. Doug mentioned that we're supporting the program. I've been here 3 years. There's only so much you can do. 2 of my 3 years have been during COVID, so all of the credit should go to Doug and his vision nearly 30 years, more than 30 years ago, for him to anticipate the future of college athletics, whether it's endowment, fundraising, coaches' involvement, the way he recruits, the types of young men that he brings to West Point to have an impact on the academy, as well as the impact that the academy has on those young men. And it's great that we have the opportunity to recognize so many who are here today, and the 7 that we'll induct today into this incredible honor. But a credit to Doug and the young men and grown men who have put this gymnastics program on the map. My job is to stay out of the way and support Doug and his great staff in any way that we possibly can, because the way that these young men represent the academy in competition after graduation in the Army is second to none. So I'm honored to be here this morning. Thank you all for making the efforts to be here. As Doug said, the finals tonight, hopefully we can put on another great showing as we did last night and keep this program moving forward. So thanks again for being here, and thank you, Doug, for all that you do.
Thanks, Mike. Cool. So over the course of time as the head coach for the gymnastics team, I started in 1990. I've been inspired by the graduates of the academy. Many I've come to know personally. Graduates like Neal Creighton and Lou Groves, Herb Lichtenberg, Punch Jameson, Dan Palash, Kevin Gaynor. We wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for the generosity and support of many of these people, all of them. The key supporters and leaders that we used to have on the wall, our icon wall, if you will, are now on the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction, along with the other leaders. The diversity of the careers in the military and in their post-military endeavors is a story in and of itself, but the commonality between them all is their generosity and their untiring support for the Academy, and in particular our Army Gymnastics program. I look around this gym today and I see progress that would not exist if it were not for their support. For those of you that are here today, we will recognize you in a bit when Colonel Retired Fulton introduces this year's class of inductees. We also have graduates who many of us have never had the fortunate opportunity to meet, but their example of service has been a consistent source of inspiration to us and others. One of those graduates is Lieutenant Howie Pontuck, Howard Pontuck, known as Howie to his family and close friends. First Lieutenant Samuel Pontuck was a 3-year letterman during his time at West Point and the team captain in 1966. Upon graduation, Howie was commissioned a second lieutenant in the branch of infantry. His service led him to Vietnam, where on March 8, 1968, while serving as a military assistance and training team leader in the Phong Dinh province, he was tragically killed by an anti-personnel mine. He was one of 335 men from West Point who died or are still missing in action in Southeast Asia. During the period of 57 through September 72, Howie was a personal friend to some of you that are here with us today. Your consistent tributes to Howie in your actions, your words, and your generosity to this program has made the Howie Pontuck an enduring and inspirational beacon for this program, and an example of service and sacrifice will continue to help us recognize the distinctive service of our gymnastics alumni and program supporters in the years to come. I want to recognize the members of Howie Pontuck's family who are watching online with us here today. Howie's niece Rosemary and Howie's brother Joel. Thank you for being here with us. We also have a number of other people online, which we're going to bring up here shortly when Colonel Fulton jumps on the podium here. I also want to recognize Howie's classmates, Kevin Gaynor, Tori Wilson, Paul Rogenkamp, and from the class of '66, Howie's teammates, which include Tori, Paul, John Longhauser, Tad Ono, and Bob Wolf, who are here with us today. Your presence here today is a wonderful echo of Howie's legacy. At this time, I'd like to introduce and recognize the new members of our inaugural class of inductees going on the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction, presented by Lieutenant Colonel Retired Dave Fulton.
All right, good morning. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, so I am honored to be here this morning to represent and to speak on behalf of the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction Selection Committee and to introduce the individuals selected to go onto the wall in this inaugural first year. So I want to first thank the 7 members of the committee for all their work they did over the course of this past year to conceptualize, to research, and to make the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction what it is that you see today. The committee members span 4 decades of Army gymnastics and West Point experience, and they include Casey Doss from the class of 1999, Peter Gizzi from the class of 1967, Arnie Ferrando from the class of 1978, Chris Fulton from the class of 1981, John Longhauser from the class of 1965, Paul Rogenkamp from the class of 1966, and myself from the class of 1986. You have all made a remarkable contribution to Army gymnastics program and to West Point athletics. So gymnastics has been a part of the West Point curriculum since the 1800s. But in 1924, nearly 100 years ago, West Point established the Army gymnastics team as an intercollegiate sport, setting the stage for Army gymnasts to compete against other colleges throughout the nation. So since 1924, there have been over 1,200 cadet athletes here at West Point who have made intercollegiate gymnastics part of their cadet experience. The Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction tells an amazing story of these cadet athletes. And we are really only just beginning to tell that story with this year's inductees. This year, having Howie Pontuck as the beacon and centerpiece for the wall, the committee agreed to that for this inaugural year, our inductees will be related to that period of the Vietnam War, from its initial beginning through America's withdrawal. This was Howie's time frame and a fitting tribute, we thought, as a focus for this year. In future years, the plan is that we will continue a nomination process, asking our alumni to identify Army gymnasts whose lifelong service reflects the exceptional distinction on active duty through public service and in the private sector. Every year, as part of the West Point Open going forward, we're going to come back to the Lou Gross Sports Center and we're going to induct several more individuals, bringing attention back to our program, back to our values, and back to the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction. So again, I mentioned the wall tells an amazing story. So first, on that wall, you'll see that the wall provides recognition to nearly 60 general officers, ranging from 1 star to 4 stars. All of these have been members of the program. The wall identifies over 70 gymnasts who have earned one or more of our nation's top 3 medals of valor. 2 of those recipients, Colonel Retired Tad Ono and Dr. Tori Wilson, are with us here today, and we have Mr. Louis Higginbotham, one of only 4 Army gymnasts to have been the recipient of 3 stars, watching this ceremony online. So on the wall, you're also going to see the names and the faces that speak to the immeasurable sacrifice and service that Army gymnasts have given in defense of our nation. Their eyes and their final breath gave witness to places such as the beaches of Normandy, the Bataan Death March, and the jungles of Vietnam. For those 10 gymnasts who endured captivity, their combined total of time spans 20 years. Being that this is the first year for the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction, and it's the first time their Army gymnastics program has assembled a complete picture of all of those West Point gymnasts who made the supreme sacrifice, I'm going to ask that you share a moment to reflect on their lives and the service as I read their 23 names. And if you watch up here on the screen, you're going to see those 23 faces, those gymnasts who made the ultimate sacrifice. So those we lost in World War II. Major Robert Lothrop, class of 1930. Captain Richard Smith, class of 1934. Lieutenant Colonel Edwin Ostberg, class of 1939. Major Matthew Whalen, class of 1939. Major Orloff Bowen, class of 1940. Lieutenant Colonel Wadsworth Clapp, class of 1941. First Lieutenant George Eberly, class of January 1943. First Lieutenant Edward Watkins, class of June 1943. Those we lost in the Korean War. Captain Charles Coons, class of 1948. First Lieutenant Floyd Stevenson, class of 1949. First Lieutenant John Green, class of 1950. Those we lost in Vietnam. Colonel William Mason, class of 1946. Lieutenant Colonel William Cronin, class of 1947. Captain Thomas McCarthy, class of 1955. Lieutenant Colonel Merwin Morrill, class of 1958. Major Robert Deegan, class of 1958. Captain William Duell, class of 1961. Major Robert Dickinson, class of 1962. Captain David Crocker, class of 1966. First Lieutenant Howard Pontuck, class of 1966. Captain Ellis Green, class of 1967. First Lieutenant Jonathan Shine, class of 1969. And lost in the global war on terror, Captain Andrew Pedersen Keel, class of 2006. Bless them all. So now, what I would like to do is introduce those distinctive alumni with us here today, either in person or via the technology of Zoom, going on the Howie Pontuck Wall of Induction, their distinction. As I do so, I'm going to make some short remarks about each individual's service and contributions, and if the recipient is present, I'm going to ask them to come forward and be recognized and receive their commemorative plaque. The first inductee I want to recognize today is John Longhauser. John came to West Point as an already accomplished gymnast from the state of Illinois. Illinois, in those days, was a gymnastics powerhouse state, and John had already earned the distinction of being a 1961 high school champion. At West Point, he was a standout on the trampoline, winning the Eastern Intercollegiate Championship on the trampoline in 1965. In the same year, he graduated and commissioned into the Armor Branch. He served in uniform for 32 years, retiring at the rank of Major General. John held key leadership positions, including service as a troop commander in Vietnam with the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, program executive for the Army's combat vehicles, and commanding general for the Army's Test and Evaluation Command. After military retirement, John continued his service as a leader of character through his work as a senior corporate executive in the defense industry. There has never been a time since John graduated from West Point that he did not stay connected to Army gymnastics. Throughout his career, he has contributed his talents and support as an assistant team coach, as an officer representative, and as a mentor to our gymnasts. As recent as this past fall, John came back to West Point and again spoke to the team, sharing insights and wisdom from his foxhole. Congratulations, John, on your selection to the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction. I'd ask that you please come forward and receive your plaque.
We got to take our minutes off.
So, you know what? Can I? Okay, no, you're good. Do the picture.
Right here, John. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And John, if you can make some remarks, I'd ask to make it from here so they can see you.
I don't know where to start, and I certainly don't know if I've got enough time to tell you how grateful I am to be distinguished and part of the legacy that Howie Pontuck had for all of us in Army gymnastics. Remember, you know, Beast Barracks used to be Beast Barracks. And I remember in Beast Barracks with my poncho liner on and steel pot inside a locker, screaming out, all that I am and all that I will be, I owe to my squad leader. As a bunch of people banged on the foot locker. Bob and Tad, I'm sure you can remember that. I stand here today and I will say that all that I have been and all that I am today, I owe to Army gymnastics. As a high school senior in Illinois, my coach, Bill Rotzheim, was a member of the 1952 Olympic team. And Tom Maloney, a coach over many years, was the coach at that time of Army gymnastics. And so that linkage caused me to take the entrance exams, and I think in May of 1961, I was having a great steak dinner down in Champaign, Illinois, with the University of Illinois head coach, considering going to the University of Illinois, when a phone call came, and my mother somehow found me. And most of you will remember there were Western Union telegrams at that time. and a telegram had come from the military academy saying I had 48 hours to decide whether or not I would accept admission into the academy. The rest is history. Another special thing about today and this gym is the fact that in Vietnam I was a troop commander under Neil Creighton, and we fought a number of battles together. And the relationship between Neil and Joan over the years in reunions and other events just grew stronger and stronger. I can't think of a better way to generate the right legacy for this facility than to commemorate it with Joan and Neil's name, and this is just a tremendous tribute. I'm proud to be a West Point graduate. I'm proud to be a member of the class of '65. Tad, Bob, it's just great to be part of that legacy, and I will always remember and have a special place in my heart for this place. And the fact that I was special enough, recognized by other people, to be part of it. So I thank you all, Dave, Coach. I've got my family here, my lovely wife Cheryl, my daughter Kim, and her children, Alex, and Aaron, son-in-law, who is my friend in party drinking of some special stock, David. Close friends, Dale and Debbie Wagner, and we've got Larry and Peggy McNabb. So this is a big deal for me. Class of '65, my relationship has always been a big deal, and I will forever be grateful to all of you who have allowed me to be this special part of our program. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks,
Congratulations. Congratulations, John. Okay, so now our next inductee is Tadahiko Tad Ono. So Tad's story is one that honestly could make a movie. He was born in Japan in 1942. Think of what was going on 1 year prior to 1942. So in 1942, Tad was born in Tokyo, or was born in Japan. His father was Japanese, his mother was American. His father was actually serving in the Japanese Navy and was unfortunately killed in 1946 in Luzon. 10 years after the war ended in 1955, Tad's mother was able to move the family to America, and they ended up in New York City. If you watch Tad's interview to West Point Center of Oral History, and I would encourage you to do so, Tad talks about watching an armed forces parade in New York City and seeing Pete Dawkins in the parade. And this pivotal moment provided a spark that inspired Tad to seek an appointment to West Point. And so, only 16 years after World War II, and about 6 years after landing in America, Tad entered the gate at West Point. His plebe roommate was Bob Wolf, another Army gymnast, and together they made lifelong memories and a friendship that lasts to this day. As a cadet, Tad competed on the gymnastics team, and he served as the team captain in 1965. Upon graduation, he was commissioned as a combat engineer. He distinguished himself for valor in Vietnam and earned 2 Silver Stars before rising to the rank of colonel and serving in numerous other positions of responsibility. One of those positions was back in Japan in 1973 to 79 as the Deputy District Engineer for Government of Japan Funded Construction, a role made for a more senior officer, but one where Tad excelled as a skilled engineer and fluent in all the languages being spoken in that room. You performed admirably. Retiring after 27 years of military service, Tad continued to shine as a civil engineer, serving in multiple leadership and global corporate executive firms, making a lasting impact on projects around the world, like other West Point graduates have before you. Congratulations, Tad, on your selection to the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction. Please come forward and get your plaque.
Do you mind taking your masks off? Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Coach and Dave. Dave, I couldn't have written that better myself. I don't know where you got all that, but you had most of the details correct, too. I'd just like to recognize some people, some of them whom are here, and some not here. First, my daughter, Madi, accompanied me from Portland. And then we're joined by her schoolmate from Vassar, Kat Fitzgerald and Gloria Vela. Yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah. I better put my glasses on. And then from the DC area, my teammate, classmate, and dear friend, lifelong friend, Bob and Phyllis Wolf. Thank you for being here. Actually, Bob and I were Beast Barracks roommates, and we used to brag about being members of the shortest room in the Corps. In fact, I encouraged Bob to join the gym team, which he did, and became a great ringman. Some of my friends I want to recognize are not here. Ken Schlutsky, the teammate, wanted to be here, but a family medical issue kept him from being here. Our dear friend and teammate, Ole Korope, who unfortunately passed away within the last year or so. Ole was just a great guy. Dave Crocker has been mentioned as one of the KIAs in Vietnam. Dave and I served in the 3rd Brigade of the 25th Infantry Division. He commanded a mech infantry company, and I commanded the engineer company. We used to go on mine sweeps together. And it just broke my heart when I heard about his death. And then Dick Chatfield, who was also a teammate, who's not here. Next, recognize my wife, Hero, who was my biggest fan and cheerleader. And I think all the teammates will remember seeing Hero in the stands. Hero has been battling Alzheimer's, and she's well taken care of by me and our 3 daughters. She's not here, so Madi's here, as we say, repping her. Maud's also here representing her sisters, who couldn't be here because they're looking after Hero. And Madi's wife, Kat, who also wanted to be here but couldn't. And then my mom, who was a lifelong widow. Actually, my dad died in '44 in Manila. And she became a lifelong widow and sacrificed everything for me and my brother. And I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be the person that I am, but for my mom and all of her sacrifices. Thank you, Mom. I love you. Last but not least is our friend Howie. Howie and I competed in the New York City public school system. So gymnastics wasn't a big deal back in the early 60s or late 50s. So we used to have to find meets sponsored by others. And so that's how I met Howie. And I was so happy to see him when he came to West Point and joined the team. And in my last year, we were in the same company as with Kevin. I don't know if Kevin's here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Kevin, yeah. And Howie was perhaps the nicest guy you could ever meet. I mean, there was not a mean bone in his body. He was just a lovable guy, and we all loved him. He was just a very, very special guy. Great heart. And I'm so proud to be associated forevermore with Howie. I couldn't have gotten a higher honor than to be identified as a guy on Howie Pontuck's Wall of Distinction. I think that's wonderful. So thanks for this honor. I'm humbled and very grateful. Thank you.
So our next inductee is Tori Wilson. So upon graduation in 1966, Tori was also commissioned as a combat engineer. He commanded tactical nuclear weapons, including backpackable weapons. Near the Soviet border in Cold War Europe and in Vietnam, commanded 2 combat engineer companies and the 630th Company in succession, receiving, among other awards for valor, the Silver Star and 2 Purple Hearts. Tori then transitioned to the Medical Service Corps, distinguished himself as a military urologic surgeon, chief of urology and urology residence program director. Retiring as a colonel in 1987, he joined the Mayo Clinic in Rochester as a urologic surgeon, researcher, and an educator. There, during the ensuing 25 years, he set numerous firsts within the urology arena and personally supervised over 300 Mayo residents and fellows, internationally recognized for his expertise and is esteemed by his colleagues. He has made a notable and lasting impact on medicine and the development of future urologists. Congratulations, Tori, on your selection to the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction. Please come forward.
Can I use the microphone?
You know what? It'll be hard for them to hear. Well, you know what? We're going to try. Okay, we're going to try the mic here, folks, online, so bear with us.
If it doesn't work, prompt me. Thank you, Dave, for those kind remarks. If my father were here, he would agree with you. I'm sorry. If my mother were here, she would agree with you. If my father was here, he would say, I wonder who he's talking about. You can be sure of that. As everything is having to be abbreviated because of COVID restrictions, I had some prepared words that might go a little bit long. Can you hear me, everyone? So prompt me if it does. Thank you, all that had a hand in this. It's a wonderful thing that has been created, this wall of distinction. I know Chris and Dave Fulton did their part. Howie Pontuck and I were in the same company for 4 years. You know some of his story, but I wanted to tell you a little bit more. Howie, first slide, second slide, next slide, yes. Howie and I in our first company of M1, and I was walking around trying to find Howie and went to his room. There's Howie doing this handstand. Immediately I was alarmed, and I moved to spot for him, but seeing the spotter was on task, as I moved to protect him, I did not. Howie did not flinch. In fact, when he looked over at me is when I got this picture. And he didn't just do an up and down, he planted it. He stayed up for quite a while before he started coming down. It was something to behold. Coach Maloney, next slide. Coach Maloney was important to all of us. And when I think of Coach Maloney, I think of Steve Best, Tad Ono, Bob Wolf, Ken Slusky, the ones I knew best, and Howie, of course. I also think of my classmate, Paul Rogenkamp. Paul's story gives us a view of Coach. Paul came on as a zero experience walk-on yearling year. 3 years later, he competed in the NCAA National Championship his first class year. This was typical of Coach Maloney. Paul missed working out after graduation and called Coach. He sent him a bar, a high bar set, and parallel bars. So, Paul, thank you. Paul, you may think you had stress. I can tell you, however, I dated Coach Maloney's daughter. If you want to add a whole new level of anxiety and stress to your workouts and life, date the coach's daughter. It didn't work out. Next slide. This is the oath of allegiance we took at the end of our day, 1962. July 2nd for us. We all took this. Our address was delivered by Brigadier General Richard Stilwell, the Commandant. His address drove home the gravity of our undertaking. And for me, West Point instilled and reinforced values I grew up with. Athletics was part and parcel of this. Coach Maloney did his part. This was the beginning. Next slide, please. Next one. I'm wearing my uniform today in honor of Howie Pontuck and his death. It was tailored for me in 1968-69 during my tour of duty in Vietnam. As you know, Howie passed in 1968. He was in the south corner of Vietnam, further south, and I was in I Corps. And General Stilwell was my Corps commander. I found this map. I opened a trunk 2 years ago. I had forgotten about it. In looking at the notes, I made notes of my arrival in country, all the places I went, activities, battles, and that sort of thing until my DEROS in 1969. West Point was foundational for me. Ranger School was the hardest thing I ever did, and it saved lives in Vietnam when commanding 3 companies in succession. I'm indebted to it, and I will always be indebted. Vietnam was a seminal event of my life, and it may be for some of you here today. These 3 influences, these 3 events influence every decision, important decision, and action in my life since. Next slide, please. This is 1968 in Vietnam. I carried a Car 15. The photo is in Quang Nai Province, I Corps. And I may have mentioned my Corps commander was General Stilwell. Next slide, please. It took me 5 years before I could bring myself to visit the Vietnam Memorial. This was in 1987. I asked my wife that I needed to go along, and she agreed with me. The first of our fallen that I visited was Howie. I did one of those charcoal rubbings, which you can see. I visited my other classmates, but this is the only rubbing that I did, and I keep it in a place of honor in my office. So you can see Howie lives on in me, as he does in Kevin Gaynor and others, who knew him. Next slide, please. I want to close with this photograph. It was taken during our first class year, probably winter. We were celebrating everyone graduating. Had the officer in charge walked in, there would have been slugs, well, thrown around for all. We were imbibing, and someone mentioned, what if the OC walks in? And we all just laughed. Those were the days, my friend. This is the Howie that I knew. Relax. I don't have a pointer. He's on the right of the screen. There's Kevin Gaynor, then Howie Pontuck. He's the little guy. I'm the one, 3 guys over wearing the Navy bathrobe. It has a gold stripe on it. And I think there were future general officers in the group. Please don't show this slide around. Okay, now you know how we behaved as cadets. At any rate, it is fitting that now, with the Wall of Distinction, all who pass will know of Howie Pontuck, and he will live on with them too. I am honored and humbled to be included in this celebration today, and I want to thank each of you and wish you Godspeed. Thank you.
Great job, Tori. Thank you. Hey, hey, how was that with the microphone? Joel, can you tell me? Fair? Better if I'm just talking like this?
It was terrible.
Okay, got it. We're gonna stay like this. Okay? Okay, you good? All right. I will just tell you, if you couldn't hear it, Tori said wonderful things about your brother Howie. Incredible. Okay. Our next inductee, Kevin Gaynor. Kevin's character and actions throughout his life have held true to the inspirations found in West Point's cadet prayer. While at West Point, Kevin experienced gymnastics through the fellowship and his friendship he had with his roommate Howie Pontuck. Upon graduation, Kevin was commissioned into the Signal Corps, and like Howie, Kevin deployed to Vietnam. After serving his country, Kevin went on to obtain an MBA from Harvard University and achieve professional success as a partner with Price Waterhouse. Kevin has generously shared his success through philanthropy, quietly showing what right looks like when we endeavor to live above the common level of life. Kevin has been personally involved in strengthening the Army Gymnastics Endowment since its inception, and he has always done so in a manner that brings honor to Howie Pontuck and Howie's legacy of friendship and service. As a fellow graduate of West Point, I have personally been most impressed with Kevin's selfless and untiring loyalty and dedication to his classmate, Howie, and to the team that Howie loved, Army Gymnastics. It makes me proud, so proud, to be able to say thanks and congratulate Kevin for your most distinctive service and selection to be on the wall right next to your roommate and friend, Howie Pontuck. Please come forward and accept your plaque.
Kevin, we gotta do it.
Okay.
Sir?
Yes. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank Doug for writing that very flattering biography of me. I couldn't have done a better job had I done it myself. I want to say hello to the members of the Pontuck family that are streaming this live. Howie was my roommate for most of our last 2 years at the academy. And I will say they did not put us together so we could strengthen each other's academics. I want to thank my son Brendan, his wife Safit, and their boys Jason and Liam for being here. My wife Erica, who helped me with this presentation by telling me no, you cannot tell that story several times. Here's one that I can tell. Senior year, when we were preparing to buy cars, Howie was looking at a Carmen Ghia. Now, most of you won't believe this, nor did the car salesman. But at that point in the 60s, if you grew up in New York, Howie grew up in Brooklyn, a lot of teenagers could not drive. So when Howie was looking at the Carmen Ghia, he told the salesman he couldn't drive. Now, the salesman took that to mean that he couldn't drive a standard transmission, which was what the Carmen Ghia had, not knowing that Howie could not drive. So in order to sell the car, the salesman said, well, I'll teach you to drive. And that's how Howie learned to drive. One last word about Howie's dedication. Somewhere before Christmas of our first class year, Howie got into, let's say, a fair amount of trouble with the tactical department. Got a major slug, which I think entailed 44 periods of confinement. And if I recollect correctly, you could serve 5 a week, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and I think 1 on a Wednesday afternoon. So if you work this out mathematically, that could take Howie well into February and into the gymnastics season. As evidence of his dedication to the team and his teammates, Howie selected to stay up here over Christmas vacation and served a substantial part of the 48 hours, which enabled him to compete for the entire gymnastics season. Thank you.
So, our next inductee, Mr. Dan Palash. Dan was commissioned into the infantry upon graduation and served 5 years leading soldiers in elite units with the 82nd Airborne Division and the 5th Special Forces Group. Dan then went on to receive a master's and a PhD in aeronautical engineering, cementing the competencies that ensured him great success in the aeronautical engineering field and in leadership roles beneficial to both industry and our nation. Dan possesses an infectious energy. You can see that firsthand in his picture on the Howie Pontuck wall. His lifelong commitment to fitness and adventure, rightly fitting for an ECAC high bar champion and an Army Airborne Ranger, has led him on an enduring journey of running marathons and competing and excelling at the highest levels in national formation skydiving competition that he does to this day. Dan's lifelong example is trademarked by his devotion to his family, to his friends, and his ever-present vitality and quest to honor, to serve, and support the ideals of West Point. So Dan, congratulations on your selection to the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction. Please come up.
Well, I'm truly honored and humbled, really humbled to be nominated with this amazing group of graduates. Also being the junior guy, I feel kind of like a punk, but I want to thank my wife. She's still heavily involved in gymnastics. She's the brevet women's gymnastics judge, and about 12 hours ago I was in Honolulu with her because she's judging a meet there as we speak. So she's not here, but I really owe her a lot. I think it's been said, all I am today has to do with West Point and the Army gymnastics team. It showed me how to be a team member, how to get through tough, grueling efforts like Ranger School, and just to give back anything and everything makes me very happy. So I want to thank everybody for this honor, and again, I'm tickled pink to be part of all this. Thank you so much.
Congrats, Dan. Okay, so we going to transition a little bit because we have two inductees joining us online today. So we're going to see how we can make this technology work in our support. With that said, we were here fairly late last night rehearsing the Electron dance to make this possible. So what we have here today is we have both Zoom, where we have Punch Jameson and Lewis Higginbotham on, but we're also streaming it on our Facebook Live with the Army Gymnastics team, so folks can go back and look at it later. So our first inductee is going to be Lewis Punch Jameson, class of 1949. Punch followed his father's footsteps, attending West Point and joining the gymnastics team, where he, like his father, served as a gymnastics team captain. After an extremely successful gymnastics career, culminating as an NCAA All-American and graduation from West Point, Punch joined the Air Force, where he trained as a fighter pilot. During his extraordinary career, he received multiple awards for achievements as a Vietnam War pilot and as a leader for various Air Force organizations. Punch retired from the Air Force as a colonel in 1975, and he went on to work at the RAND Corporation as a consultant, analyst, publishing papers on complex military and logistical matters. Retiring in 2014, Punch relocated to his hometown of San Antonio to pursue and inspire others in community service and philanthropy projects. Whenever the gymnastics team gets to Texas, Punch is there to support, as he has been his entire life. So Punch, congratulations on your selection to the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction. I understand that Coach Van Everen's already sent you down your plaque. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the mic up to our iPad and give you an opportunity to make some comments, and hopefully we're going to be able to project that out into everyone. Okay?
Okay, am I coming through now?
Yep.
Okay. I want to say that this is my ceremony, and I certainly thank Howie for setting us up this time. I want to mention that I wish my fellow participant in my group of gymnasts was Old Brunson, and he became captain in 1950. Very fine fellow. I've seen him once since. I also want to say that this ceremony to honor us is very fine. And Howie, I think we had a good idea, and I appreciate the attention that we're getting from all of you. So thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Punch. Okay, I do see that Lewis Higginbotham is online. So our next individual that I would like to introduce is Lewis Higginbotham. So when I first spoke to Lewis, I found him to actually be very humble. So he described how Coach Maloney saw him in gymnastics class, and he recruited him for rope climbing when he was a freshman. So he told me about his plebe Christmas and not being allowed to go home back then, and how Coach Maloney opened his home for his family to come and stay at the Maloney home over Christmas so Lewis could have his family there. Lewis described his success at rope climbing, but he also, the fact that Coach Maloney cut him from the team later that same first year because the NCAA had dropped rope climbing as a competitive sport in gymnastics. And in Lewis's words, Coach Maloney said he didn't have the talent for anything else. But I think he also said at the same time, he said, I guess I was better at killing communists than I was as a gymnast. I can tell you from talking to Lewis and the experience of gymnastics and the training he received at West Point contributed to the grit and the determination he brought to the battlefield. Lewis Higginbotham is a 3-time recipient of our nation's Silver Star, an extraordinary distinction resulting from his proven courage and leadership in combat. Following Vietnam and until his retirement from active duty, he sought and fought for opportunities to continue serving with elite airborne units and mentor and endow soldiers and officers with the same warrior skills and no fear character that brought him and his soldiers success on the battlefield. So congratulations, Lewis, on your selection to the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction. So, Lewis, if you are able, I would like to see if you can unmute your microphone. Unmute your microphone, and if you want to make some comments, you have that opportunity. But no pressure.
I've enjoyed very much watching the ceremony. It's been very impressive. All the other gymnasts, good group of people. And when I told Doug about Coach Maloney, he did say that I didn't have enough talent to learn another event. So that was the end of my gymnastics career. I would attribute my success in the military, and particularly in combat, to the entire West Point experience. Everything about it. We wake up every morning and be proud of the opportunity to be a cadet and have the opportunity to, perhaps, if I measured up to the standards, I would someday be an Army officer. That was what kept me going every day and made me happy to be there and proud to be there. And I still am awfully glad that I was there and learned what I did from Military Academy. Thank you, Doug.
Oh, thank you, Lewis. Congratulations. So, when you look at the wall, you're going to see other icons of Army gymnastics. While they're not present with us here today, they deserve notice as inductees to the Howie Pontuck Wall of Distinction, and they include Gar Quinn, member of the 1960 Olympic team. Steve Marshall, member of the 1995 U.S. Senior National Team. Major General Neil Creighton, distinguished graduate of the United States Military Academy. Bob Sears, 3-time national champion as an Army gymnast. Woody Spring, astronaut. Lou Gross and Herb Lichtenberg. These two gentlemen, while not gymnasts, their impact in providing the support and facilities to Army athletes is immeasurable. Thomas Maloney, longtime West Point gymnastics coach and 2-time Olympic coach. And Barry Horton, whose service in Strategic Missile Defense and Defense Intelligence Agency was key throughout the Cold War and post-Cold War periods. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our Wall of Distinction, and we look forward to adding more individuals and inspiring stories in the years to come. Again, I want to thank the members of the committee for their work and help in selecting the incredible individuals we introduced here today. I also want to say thanks to TMT Design Group. A woman named Miss Sue Tafford has helped us out considerably throughout this project. And I want to thanks to her for her creative support, because everything we as a committee gave to Sue, she gave back to us better. So Sue, thank you so much for your work. I know of no other athletic team at West Point, no other, who has done what we have done, defining the valor, the leadership, and the sacrifices, and the individuals whose distinctive service represents all that is good in Army gymnastics and our Academy's values. So with that, I want to say thanks to the Pontuck family for being present with us today. I want to invite you up to West Point at your best time to get with Coach Van Everett and see this wall that is named after your brother, Joel. I would like to get you up here, but we will bring you your plaque. Do you want to make any comments, Joel? We can, yep.
You can. I just want to say I'm completely speechless. My brother has touched so many people in so many ways that it's just miraculous. I knew he was a great person when I used to see him fall asleep at night while he was studying before he even got into West Point, and he'd be at the kitchen table asleep when we got up in the morning. But he was always dedicated. He always cared about everyone. It's just remarkable how everyone has kept his memory alive. I want to thank everybody. I'm incredibly moved. So thank you again, and I appreciate all that you've done in his honor. And we will come up and see the wall and meet the folks up there. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for everything from the Pontuck. So you know, I'm going to leave that link open with the Zoom. So if anybody wants to come by and wave at the Pontucks or talk to him or say hello to anybody there, you got Punch Jameson, Louis Higginbottom, but the Pontucks in particular, please take that opportunity to do that for as long as you're able to hang with us, Joel. Congratulations, inductees. We are quite proud of you. We are quite proud to be a part of this legacy and to share in this great day. I thank you for being here and for bringing your families and your friends to help celebrate this day. So thank you. I'll let Coach Van Everen take over.
Okay, just a couple last minute announcements. Whitney is the one that basically helped put this thing all together, and so I want to thank her, and then certainly the whole athletic department. I mean, the support we get from Mike Buddy and his team, and really USMA as a whole, they put us in a position to be successful, and so I appreciate it. You know, I mean, I've been here for 32 years, and I feel like I'm just getting going, and so it's a fun ride. It's been just super rewarding for me. The endowment, you know, has been a big, long, process over the last 18 years, but it's allowed me to meet more people and more graduates, and the more you meet them, the more you realize the impact of the program is huge, and just it's been awesome to be able to talk to and meet all these people. Secondly, for any of you that are attending or want to attend the finals tonight, Whitney does have tickets over there, and so please feel free to grab them. And then lastly, we have a little highlight video that we put together, and in recognition of 30 years of the West Point Open, and so we're going to get that thing fired up here when Evan gets going. So Evan, you're up. And then we also have lunch, which is coming in now or soon, and that'll be downstairs. And then we do have, for those of you interested in the tour, we have a tour planned for you all, and we got to still figure out a couple details. But bottom line, we're going to kind of go after lunch to the Arvin Gym. Renovated, beautiful building there to kind of tour around. We're going to kind of cruise through the mess hall for those that haven't seen that in a while or at all, and then over to the library, and then from that point we're going to kind of do a little bit of a drive around and so forth, and then bring you back up here to the Growth Center to collect your cars or whatever, and then we'll go from there. And then this afternoon we are bringing the Creighton family and their friends in for the official naming and unveiling of the Major General Neil and Joan Creighton Gymnastics Arena. So that's going to be great as well. And so thank you again for all being here. It's wonderful. So Evan, hit it on.